It's May Day in Dakar, 1 p.m. in Porto Novo. Good afternoon and many thanks for staying tuned to West Africa, Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and worldwide on wadr.org. Welcome to Newslink. Here are the top stories. Authorities in Mali arrest major opposition leaders on grounds of destabilizing the transition. Nigeria takes a giant stride towards sending its first citizen into space.
We have signed MOU today with the SIRA, Space Exploration Research Agency from America. They are covering us 100% financially. So Nigeria is not spending a dime.
Niger's ruling military withdraws the operational permit from French mining company over alleged failure to respect working deadlines. And 6 Ghanaian Muslim pilgrims die from extreme heat wave at Mecca in Saudi Arabia. Please stay tuned for details of these stories and more.
Here is Augustine Coley with Newslink.
Thank you for joining us and a warm welcome to our listeners in the Gambia, Ghana, Liberia, and Sierra Leone. We begin in Mali, where on Wednesday night, important political leaders of the Malayan opposition were arrested by the gendarmes on grounds of destabilizing the transition. According to sources, the security services carried out a raid during a secret meeting at the home of the former Minister of Higher Education, Mustafa Jiko, where political leaders were gathering. The political actors arrested are all signatories to the declaration of the March 31, 2024 de facto opposition bloc to the transition since the controversial inter-Malayan dialogue ended in last May. Imo Edet completes the story.
These arrests were confirmed by sources close to the groups of those arrested. It was found in the possession of each participant a draft action plan containing 5 pages to be carried out to mobilize the population for a return to constitutional order with identified objectives, while recognizing the suspension of political activities. A draft statute and internal regulations containing 3 pages of a movement called A31, which is Alliance of March 31, were also seized in their possession. Among those accused are Mohammed Ali Batili, former Minister of Justice, Moulay Haidara, President of the PDS, Mamadou Traore, former candidate for the 2018 presidential election, and Yaya Sangare, former Minister of Communication. The latter has in common the membership of the former presidential party at Dema with Mustafa Diko, who was also on board. An investigation is open to determine the ins and outs of the affair in the context of a ban on political activities. The reaction of the groups concerned is awaited after these arrests, which liven up the debates on the banks of the Joliba River.
Imo Edet fight that report. Still in Mali, the International Criminal Court, ICC, will deliver its verdict in the case of Al-Hassan Abdul Aziz Mohamed Mahmoud on June 26, 2024. The verdict of the former Islamic Commissioner of Timbuktu will mark the first time that sexual crimes have been tried in connection with the violence in Mali. In 2012, Al-Hassan Mahmoud was accused of war crimes and crimes against humanity, including sexual violence. His trial started in July 2020, involving 52 prosecution witnesses, 22 defense witnesses, and 2 witnesses from the victims' legal representatives representing 2,196 victims. The judgment will be broadcast live on the ICC website. At the end of this trial, Al-Hassan could be acquitted or convicted, with the possibility of the parties to appeal the judgment. Now to Burkina Faso, the National Human Rights Commission has expressed concerns about the human rights situation in the country. In its report published Tuesday of this week, the CNDH also commented on the security situation. Sankule Janko has more in the following report.
The Burkinabe National Human Rights Commission first expressed its solidarity and compassion to the soldiers and volunteers for the defense of the fatherland and auxiliaries of the army who died in the fight against armed groups. Furthermore, the CNDH says it is concerned and has noticed a rise in hateful speech among many Burkinabe people via social media networks during public demonstrations. The Burkinabe National Human Rights Commission also says it is concerned about the arrest and kidnapping of citizens by unidentified individuals without going through the appropriate procedures. The report also mentions and deplores the non-execution of court decisions. It also highlighted the increase in the country's internal debt, which has been leading to a slowdown in economic activity. The CNDH also highlights the questioning of the acquired rights of certain workers. The National Human Rights Commission calls on the Burkinabe government to ask the president of the transition, Captain Ibrahim Traoré, to fulfill his role as guarantor of the independence of the judiciary.
A report by WADR's Ouagadougou correspondent Abin Adey and voiced by Sankule Janko. Over to Niger, as the ruling military withdraws the operational permit from the Imowaran uranium mine from the French company Orano. Niamey accuses the company of not having respected the deadline for the start of work. The Imowaran mine, as a reminder, is one of the largest uranium deposits in the world, with reserves estimated at 200,000 tons. Oge Oberika has more.
The decision by Niamey was made yesterday, Thursday, while the French company Orano said it had recently launched work into the Imowaran mining site in the north of the country. In reaction, Orano said it had taken note of the decision of the authorities in Niger. In a June 11 post, the Nigerian Ministry of Mines said that the operating permit for the Imowaran mine would be withdrawn from Orano to enable it to return it to the public domain if exploitation work does not begin within 3 months after March 19. The French company indicated that preparatory work was launched the day after the publication was made. In addition, Orano will continue to operate another uranium mine in Niger in the Arlit region in the north of the country. The military regime announced that it wanted to thoroughly review the system of exploitation of raw materials on its soil by foreign companies. As a reminder, the Imowaran mine is one of the largest uranium deposits in the world, with reserves estimated at 200,000 tons, with Niger supplying nearly 5% of global production of natural uranium.
Oge Oberika reporting there. Back here in Senegal, the Peace Consort Cabinet has been launched in Dakar. This launch marks an important step in the quest for lasting solutions for peace in West Africa and focuses on restoring the social and cultural fabric of communities. Throughout the years, the sub-region has faced challenges in upholding continuous peace and good governance due to security threats stemming from violent extremists, political crisis, and terrorism. As addressing these challenges necessitates a united effort from both state and non-state actors, this initiative has been formally launched in Senegal to boost up the battle against insecurity in the region. Rose Samara Cates has the details in this report.
The Peace Council Cabinet is focused on collaborating and synergizing regional and continental strategies to address the current security crisis in the sub-region. It aims to provide specific expertise and programs to help address these challenges. Dr. Abdullahat Gay is the Director General of Peace Council.
The idea today is to have a mechanism to accompany the state, to accompany our partners, but also with the inclusion of communities to work on how we find solutions to these issues.
Nonetheless, the establishment of the Peace Council Cabinet has been positively received by the ECOWAS Commission. The regional organization emphasized the importance of the new entity in sustaining effective and efficient initiatives. Sylvain Sambou managed the ECOWAS Bureau in Senegal.
I hope that the cabinet will allow us to close these segments that we have not yet completely filled in our states and communities.
The newly established organization aims to revitalize communities by focusing on education and youth employment in ECOWAS member states. Speaking at the luncheon, the Nigerian ambassador to Senegal, Salihu Abubakar, urged intergovernmental collaboration to tackle youth unemployment in the region.
Our youth too are largely unemployed because of our population. Our government has tried, of course, But because the population is higher, in Senegal here, I think the same thing is obtained too. And I want to appeal that both our governments should try as much as possible to get our youth engaged in one way or the other for the future of our generations that are coming.
The official launch of the Peace Council Cabinet in Dakar, the Senegalese capital, brought together experts, academics, government representatives, and civil society actors.
Rose Samara Cates with that report.
More stories coming up on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
Let's now bring you developments from the opening of the Global Forum for Vaccine Sovereignty and Innovation, where $1 billion has been dedicated to help accelerate the production of vaccines in Africa. As you know, Africa is working to reduce its dependence on the northern country and India in terms of vaccine supplies. As a reminder, the continent imports 98% of its vaccines. Here is more with Eche Atisu.
The heads of state, representatives of the Gavi Vaccine Alliance and the African Union present at this forum want to unite to better finance health in Africa. Africa represents around 20% of the world's population, but its vaccine industry provides less than 1% of the world's supply, as recalled by Senegalese President Bassirou Diomaye Faye. He continued that the continent is so largely dependent on other regions of the world to meet its needs. Rwandan President Paul Kagame also underlined Africa's ambitions, giving, for example, the installation in Kigali of the German firm BioNTech, which should ultimately produce a vaccine against COVID-19, but also malaria and tuberculosis. At the opening of the forum yesterday, Thursday, more than $1 billion was announced to strengthen local African vaccine production and support African projects. The Gavi Vaccine Alliance will contribute $1 billion presented as the accelerator of vaccine production in Africa. This will, among other things, make it possible to set up more vaccine factories in Africa. The European Commission is providing 3/4 of this funding, as underlined by the French head of state. The launch of this forum brought together the presidents of Senegal, Ghana, Rwanda, Botswana, and around 30 ministers, representatives of international organizations, pharmaceutical companies, research institutes, and banks.
Eche Atisu fight that report. We head now to Nigeria, where the death toll has increased to 21 as a result of cholera outbreak in Lagos State. In totality, the suspected cases stand at 401 across the state, with Lagos, Island, and other states recording the highest numbers, according to the Lagos State Public Health Emergency Operations Center. This followed the last update, which reported 350 suspected cases and 15 fatalities. Francis Boniface completes the story.
The latest update was disclosed on Thursday by Kemi Ogunyem, the special advisor to the Lagos State Governor on Health. According to her, the rise in cases was anticipated following the Ileya festivities, during which large gatherings occurred. However, Ogunyem noted that suspected cases are subsiding across LGAs, particularly in previously affected LGAs due to state government interventions and surveillance efforts. The special advisor stated that the Lagos State government, through the Ministry of Health and other sister agencies, is maintaining rigorous surveillance and monitoring of the situation and implementing planned programs and activities to curb the spread. At the moment, residents must, however, remain vigilant, practice good hand hygiene, and participate in community sanitation activities to stop the spread of cholera. The special advisor advised that citizens seek medical attention immediately if they experience symptoms such as watery diarrhea, vomiting, abdominal pain, general malaise, and fever, stressing that the cholera treatment is free at all public health facilities. The Nigeria Center for Disease Control and Prevention recently reported that the West African states recorded 30 deaths and 1,141 suspected cases of cholera nationwide. According to the NCDC, the cases that occurred between January and June 11, 2024 were reported from 96 local government areas in 30 states of the country.
Francis Boniface reporting there. Meanwhile, in a not-so-far future, one lucky Nigerian will become the first citizen to travel into space. This has been made possible after the federal government signed a space flight partnership with the United States-based space company. In this report by WADR's Usma Omar, you will hear some of the details of this new pact and hints as to who may be the first lucky Nigerian to travel into space.
In a meeting with the representatives of the United States-based Space Exploration and Research Agency on Thursday, Nigeria's National Research and Development Space Agency entered a partnership that will open the doors to human space flight missions involving Nigerians. Addressing the press after the signing event, the Minister of Innovation, Science and Technology of Nigeria, Uche Nnaji, said the partnership will involve a zero monetary commitment from Nigeria.
We have signed MOU today with the SIRA, that is Space Exploration Research Agency from America. They are covering us 100% financially. So Nigeria is not spending a dime. So you can see we are blessed because at this time we are looking for money. You know, some people are coming, SIRA are coming to say, let us take the bills.
The partnership is also expected to have some major highlights, including the development of critical technologies and infrastructure required for human missions beyond Earth, as well as sending Nigerians into space. Here is Matthew Adepoju, Director General of the National Space Research and Development Agency of Nigeria, providing further details on the benefits for the country.
The support we receive from European Commission is 2.7 million euros towards the artificial intelligence, robotics, and big data for our agricultural value chain aspect. But this human space flight is coming as one of those aspects of our deep space exploration.
But the best part of the agreement is that Nigerians will have a say on who will become the first citizen to enter space. With this move, Nigeria adds to its significant history of contributing to space missions, including playing a major role in man's first trip to the moon. For Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, Usman Umar reporting from Lagos.
Away from Nigeria, about 6 Ghanaian nationals on pilgrimage at Mecca have reportedly died due to a heat wave that swept through Saudi Arabia. This tragic development adds to the 2 deaths reported on June 13, raising the death toll to 8 so far. Abdul Rahman Al-Hassan Gomba, the spokesperson of the Ghanan Hajj Board, confirmed this in an interview on Thursday evening, adding that the pilgrims were subjected to extreme temperatures exceeding 41 degrees Celsius. In response to the scorching heat, Saudi authorities mandated that all pilgrims remain within their tents during the peak heat hours between noon and 4 p.m. local time. Meanwhile, the ministry in Ghana's parliament has urged the government to, as a matter of urgency, respond to the grievances of the Medical Laboratory Professional Workers Union, which has laid down its tools in demand for better conditions. WADR's Nadia Tete reports.
The industrial action has taken a toll on patients at various health facilities across the country, including pregnant women who have been turned away from major public health facilities. The alternative is for them to access the services of privately run laboratories, which come at higher costs and which many cannot afford. Members of the association say they will not call off their strike until their demands are met, since they gave the Ministry of Health and other relevant stakeholders ample notice over their challenges and plans to strike, yet no action was taken. Dr. Franklin Amati Ama is the national vice chairman of the association.
Having gone through this difficulty over the years, we need something in hand. A certain timeline commitment that within this time, we will engage and finish our conditions of service. Because the medical laboratory professional will not be patient to be shortchanged for all this whilst others are busily enjoying. We shop in the same market, and we must remain economically viable.
Addressing the media and parliament over the development, the minority spokesperson on health, Kwabena Mensah Akando, advised the government to speedily address the concerns of the striking Medical Laboratory Professional Workers Union.
As a matter of urgency, government must respond to their call and make sure that these health workers are back to the hospital.
He further warned that the situation, if not addressed, could compound the already precarious number of medical professionals leaving the country in search of greener pastures.
Between 2021 to 2023, we have lost not less than 69,000 health workers in this country. And so today, if you go to the facilities, if you go to the hospitals, you wait for hours. And that is what government must be responding to.
For WADR, Nadia Tete, Accra.
You are listening to Newslink here on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Here is a reminder of our top stories. Authorities in Mali arrest major opposition leaders on grounds of destabilizing the transition. Niger's ruling military withdraws the operational permit from French mining company over alleged failure to respect working deadlines. 6 Ghanaian Muslim pilgrims died from extreme heat waves at Mecca in Saudi Arabia. Still ahead, we have the guest interview and sports news. Please stay with us.
You are listening to West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal.
Now, Demo Creatives, an initiative designed to harness creatives' unique talents and influence musicians, poets, actors, playwrights, and artists, etc., to promote and advocate for democratic principles and good governance practices in West Africa and across the continent, was launched on today, Friday. According to the West Africa Democracy Solidarity Network, WADIMAS, through a series of targeted workshops, collaborative campaigns, public forums, and concerts, the project seeks to engage the creative community in the promotion of democracy and good governance, civic participation, transparency, and accountability. You will get this detail in our guest interview segment.
Politics, analyses on major news, social matters, and all. This is a guest.
In this segment of Newslink, let's remind you that in recent years, the West African, Central African, and Sahel regions have witnessed mine coups since 2020. The coup in Niger is the latest challenge thrown at the sub-region, bringing into 4 the number of countries in Francophone West Africa undergoing political transition. These series of setbacks have reversed the gains made consolidating democracy and good governance and have highlighted the challenges to stability and cooperation within the region. According to the West Africa Democracy Solidarity Network, WADIMAS, the creatives played a crucial role in reflecting societal values. The Director of Advocacy and Policy Engagement, Ghana Center for Democratic Development, is Kojo Asante. He tells us the idea behind this initiative.
It's not so different from our work as WADIMAS. You know, the WADIMAS we set up largely to try and mobilize the whole of society to counter this decline that we are experiencing in democracy, in our clothing spaces, that's our civic rights that are being trampled upon, all the things that we think are getting out of hand. And one of the key sectors of society that I think many people learn from, are inspired by, are creatives. Everybody knows how Afro-pop music or some of the great singers, poets, performance, people have inspired people over the years. And we thought that it is important that when we are looking at society, we should look at creatives because they already have a lot of influence on people. So why don't they bring their craft and their platforms to join the cause? And that's the reason why, we think this initiative is important at the sub-regional level.
Well, does it look at involving younger people? Because most young people really don't have time for governance. Is this going to involve them more?
Well, I don't think there's really a separation. Yes, some lyrics in music might be just about having fun, but there's also a lot of conversations in the ways in which people weave the lyrics, the way they sort of comment on social issues, but make it fun. And it resonates with people, right? So it is not, I don't think they are already doing it. It's just to make them more conscious that there's more they can do. And I think some of the artists we are bringing for this launch, which for us is just a conversation starter, they are already very much active in using their creativity and their craft to champion, causes and to promote governance and things like that. So one of the artists we are bringing, MI, has a foundation supporting younger creatives, helping communities and so on and so forth. So they are not different. They are already doing it, and we just need to even give them much bigger platforms, but also work with others to scale up the impact that they are having.
Well, Prof, in a brief description, how would you describe our sub-region's democracy at the moment?
I think we are very much in a difficult spot. You know, the coup d'etats that we've had. There are people contesting whether we should still be doing democracy because it is not giving us the dividends that we need. But we have strongly believed that one of the most important things about democracy is inclusion.
Kojo Asante is the Director of Advocacy and Policy Engagement at the Ghana Center for Democratic Development. Here is Sankule Janko with the sports news.
Hello there, warm welcome and thank you for joining us. The Super Eagles of Nigeria dropped by 8 points from 30 to 38 in the FIFA World Rankings for June. This comes amid their poor run of results in the 2026 FIFA World Cup qualifiers earlier this month. Nigeria were held to a 1-1 draw with South Africa before a shocking 2-1 defeat to Benin. According to the ranking table released by the World Football Governing Body on Thursday, as per the reports, Nigeria dropped from 1,520 points it had in April to 1,449 points. This means the Super Eagles also dropped on the African continent from the 3rd position to the 5th behind Morocco, Senegal, Egypt and Cote d'Ivoire. Liberia are the biggest risers in the recent update as they climbed 10 places from 152 following an undefeated start to 2024. Meanwhile, Morocco maintained as the top-ranked team in Africa as they continue their 100% winning streak in the qualifiers. Former AFCON champions Senegal also maintained their 2nd position spot on the continent. The Pharaohs of Egypt sit 3rd in the rankings in Africa. Reigning champions Cote d'Ivoire occupied the 4th place in the FIFA ranking following a win against Gabon and a draw against Kenya this month. Ghana's Black Stars made strides in the latest rankings, climbing 4 places to 64th globally. This comes following victories over Mali and Central African Republic in recent World Cup qualifiers. The Black Stars have moved 2 places higher in the rankings in Africa from 14th to 12th. On the global stage, Argentina retained their top position ahead of France in 2nd, while Belgium climbed a spot to 3rd. Brazil climbed a position to 4th place, while England completed the top 5 global rankings. And that's it for sports. It's back to you.
We have come to the end of this edition of Newslink here on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for listening, and many thanks to Christian Mukidi and David Vincent for the technical assistance. To interact with us via our social media platforms, X, formerly Twitter, Instagram at WADR News, and on Facebook, WADR English Service. I am Augustine Kelly. Good afternoon.
And many thanks to you for listening to Newslink via Hot 104.3 FM, Newmi FM 94.0,
Hilltop Radio 104.7 FM,
and Veritas Radio 102.9 in Banjul, the Gambia. We also appreciate our listeners in Liberia via Alternative Youth Radio 98.9 FM, Lofa County.
Radio Kagama 94.5 FM, Niba County, DCN Radio 91.3 FM, Riverside County, Wakat FM Radio.